Morning, everyone. This is Russell Rucker, and I'm here for another constitutional talk. You know, tomorrow we have a big election, and a lot of us will go vote, and we'll come back and watch the returns half the night. It's something I've always wanted to do every election. I think I've seen since about 1976. But what I want to talk about here today is one of our disputed elections, the election of 1876. This is the map here. What you have is you have Samuel Tilden, the Democrat, running against Rutherford B. Hayes. Now, the Democrats didn't even field a candidate the previous run. And when the Republicans caucused in their convention, they couldn't come up with a leader either. And so they nominated this consensus leader, someone that really wasn't the top candidate for their party. But that's how it ran. Now, Oregon over here had, it was their first election in Oregon. And Tilden did win the popular vote by about 700,000 people. And, the Republicans had 4,036,000, and the Democrats had 4,300,000. But the Electoral College, the Democrat had 184 and the Republican had 185. But there were problems with the vote. Like I said, it was Oregon's first time running, and their governor sent a slate of the opposing party. And so it kind of threw the election. There were a lot of issues. The one district had 101% of the vote counted, which obviously is an impossible thing. And that was down in South Carolina here. And then in Louisiana, too, there was so much disputed. They had killed 150 blacks as they went to the poll. Now, this was in a day when blacks were thought of to be, and they even called them black Republicans, because after the Civil War, they were all Republicans for a while, all the way back to the 1920s. So some of these slates of electors that were chosen, one was chosen by the governor, another was chosen by an attorney general, and it was in great dispute. So once it went up to the House and Senate, and as the Constitution calls, that the House would choose the president voting by state, and the Senate would choose the vice president, each one having a vote. But with divided government, having a Republican the head of the House of Representatives, because they controlled the House at the time, and the Democrats in control of the Senate, they didn't want a Democratic VP and a Republican president. So what they did was they ignored the Constitution altogether, and this is the problem with not following the dictates of the Constitution that the founders set up. So they created this commission. Okay, they passed a law, the Electoral Counting Act. They created this commission. They took 5 members from the House of Representatives, 5 from the Senate, and then they took 5 members of the Supreme Court. But the court, the way it was, the one Democrat on the court had recused himself, and so you were left with 5 Republicans, and woe behold, they all voted by party line, which politicians will do. So the next morning, They swore in Rutherford B. Hayes in the wee hours of the morning without anybody really in attendance. And as you can imagine, there was a great conflict out in the party. So this is this is how they selected the president. This is why you should always follow the dictates of the Constitution. If the Constitution had been followed, it would have been a better situation with all these disputed states. And you had 3 disputed states. It was a real mess. But Tilden was not selected president, even though he won the majority of all the votes cast. And surely he would have won, in theory anyway, the Electoral College if the slates were accurate. But when you have 101% of the vote coming in, obviously there's a problem. You can't get 101%. And the idea that people are being killed just because they wanted to vote, it can be quite a problem. But anyway, that's what they chose to do. Now, the Electoral Count Act even came up towards the end of the last election. They were talking about tweaking it some. I'm not exactly sure what actually became of that idea. But here we are with the election of 1876, 100 years since the country had been founded, and we had this kind of turmoil, really a constitutional crisis. Hopefully, tomorrow, the election is decided, and we don't have any conflicts, and we don't have any questions about it. We certainly don't want to go back through this exercise, the exercise of 1876 again. I want you to just think about that a little bit. Stay calm. Don't get upset over the results. And let's just have a nice clean election. Everything goes smooth, and we can all get along again. That's what's important, is that we put our differences aside for the good of the republic. Liberty is important. Elections are important. And the kind of leader we have is vital. So I want you to think about that for a few minutes, and what tomorrow brings, tomorrow brings. The Electoral College is important, and the stipulations of a disputed election going into the House calls out a remedy to deal with anything that might happen. Think about that a little bit, and we'll catch you next time on the next Constitutional Talk. You folks have a good day now. Hopefully we have a peaceful election. Goodbye for now. We'll see you next time on the next Constitutional Talk. Good day.